More teasers have come for the imminent Guard release, with some rules being shown off for the Death Corps units specifically, as well as a little hint at the value in terms of points we can expect from this box. And I mean, let's just say value for money clearly isn't high on the agenda with GW at the moment. And so in the upcoming Death Corps army set, which is going up for pre-order this coming Saturday, you look to be getting the Lord Marshal Dria, who is one of the de facto leaders of the Death Corps of Krieg, and alongside him 10 Death Riders, 5 Combat Engineers, and one of the new Artillery Team units. So 17 models all told, which isn't exactly a lot for the Astra Militarum, but on the other hand, on the rules front, there is some stuff at least to be hyped about. Dria himself is noted as having 6 wounds with a 4-up save and a 4-up invuln, which isn't too shabby as far as durability for a Guard character goes, and he can also really show off his resilience with the tough to kill rule that he has, and this allows him to be set back up on a 2+ after he's been destroyed for the first time. Now he does have to be set up outside of engagement range as usual, and he comes back with D3 wounds remaining. So that is quite a nice little bonus just to have him sticking around and keep on going that bit longer. It does have the same issue that all these rules have in that it is at the end of the phase where he's destroyed. So if he gets shot to death, he will come back going into the enemy charge and fight phase. So he could be charged by your opponent and then just killed off straight away. But it can definitely be handy if he dies in the enemy fight phase, for instance, because then he will come right back as you are about to go into your next turn, so you really can get at least another turn's worth of use out of him. He also brings the rule leading the charge, which grants him and his unit devastating wounds after they've charged, so in a unit of Death Riders, he will likely up their damage output quite significantly, and if the Death Riders are in any way like regular Rough Riders, which they presumably will be, in terms of at least how their lances are going to be used, that could be quite a scary bit of damage put into an enemy, with quite a lot of it potentially bypassing both their regular and their invulnerable saves thanks to those dev wounds. So that is quite a nice little buff there, and I think he is very easily and very effectively going to slot into that 10-man unit that you get in the box as this fast moving, hard hitting mini Death Star style unit for the Guard. The Death Riders themselves get a nice rule in screening line, and what this allows them to do is that they can make a normal move of up to 6 inches if an enemy unit finishes a move, advance, or fallback move within 9 inches of them, so you can really bait out an enemy charging unit and then just fall back, making it much harder for them to reach combat, and more importantly, setting yourself up for a really easy charge in the following turn. So I think this can be a brilliant tool just for threatening the enemy and making them potentially overextend themselves, leaving them very vulnerable to a counter charge by your Death Riders. The final few rules we got shown centre around the artillery and the combat engineers that are in the box. The siege cannon and the multiple rocket launcher got shown off. They both hit on 5s, but they do have heavy, so that will be dropped to 4s when they haven't moved, which is fairly typical for the Guard. The siege cannon is D6 shots with blast and indirect fire, and it is strength 12, -2 AP and 3 damage. So it's okay, it's a solid little anti-armor piece with that high strength, although the D6 shots on it are a pain into single model units like vehicles, but it can also do some okay work into things like Terminators. You are going to be wounding them on 2s, you are going to be pushing them to their invuns with the -2, so that is a nice little setup, but it's really nothing amazing. It will on average kill around 1 Terminator per shooting phase if you shoot into a unit of 10, so it's certainly not wiping them out by any stretch, but on the other hand, it can potentially make its points back over the course of a few turns if it does get to shoot into them over sort of 3 or 4 turns in the game. The rocket launcher option is instead more of a light infantry killer. It's D6 plus 3 shots with indirect and blast, but also anti-infantry 3+, which is very nice. It's only strength 2, so it is actually rubbish into anything not infantry, and it's also only -1 AP and 1 damage. So again, it's not going to do a huge amount. It will on average kill, 3 or 4 guardsmen or gaunts or orc boys and that sort of thing when it fires. So once more, it's not going to be wiping out entire squads, but it can be an okay way to whittle them down as they are getting closer to your battle lines. I think realistically, we're just going to have to see if they're worth it in the end and see if they are worth the points, because to be honest, their output really isn't fantastic. But maybe if they get a small points drop or there are some other things in the codex that really combo with them to let you boost their output, they could be a fairly nice addition to your army. The Grenadiers rule for your combat engineers, that allows them to use the grenade strat for 0 CP, which is just super handy and will at the very least allow them to throw some mortal wounds into an enemy unit or two over the course of the game, so they can potentially trade up into tougher targets quite effectively. They also get a remote mine, which you can use once per battle. This is in your shooting phase. You get to pick an enemy within 12 inches of the bearer, and on a 3+, they take D6 mortal wounds, or it's D3 plus 3 if it's a vehicle or a fortification. So being able to potentially chuck 4 to 6 mortal wounds onto an enemy tank is actually fairly good. Even into something like an Imperial Knight, that could be just what you need to finish it off before it starts rampaging its way through your lines. So it's kind of good, it's reasonably reliable on a 3+, and it does just add even more very welcome mortal wound output to your engineers. And those are the rules that we've been shown. The final thing to talk about in this video is the points, as I said earlier. These will likely change because this is almost certainly the codex points that's coming in the box. But as it stands right now, we were shown sort of a mini idea of what an army could look like to expand this box. And the box set itself contains a mere 310 points worth of models. Dria is 80, it's 120 for the 10 Death Riders, 35 for the Engineers, and then 75 for the artillery team. And to me, that's just kind of pathetic for an army box, especially one that is likely going to be sitting around, 130, maybe even 140 pound. It just feels really, really bad value. I did think initially it looked like a very, very sparse army set just based on the models we were shown, but now seeing just how few points it is as well, I am really just very disappointed. I think it would have been really nice to have seen even just one more unit of infantry just to flesh out the overall kind of look and feel of the box. It just doesn't really feel right that there's more mounted units than there are infantry to me. So don't get me wrong. Whilst I think the new Deathcore stuff looks great, it really, really does, and I love to see it in plastic, I just don't really feel like this box is very good value at all. And certainly, if you think back a couple of years, if you think back to the old Cadia Stands box, that, if memory serves, came with 20 infantry, a sentinel, a command squad, and at least a couple of the bigger artillery pieces. So this just feels like a massive step backwards compared to that one. So it just, I don't know, it's just disappointing. It's such a small amount of models for such a high price. And I know this is GW, we shouldn't expect anything different, but I just feel like this box set could have done with one more unit just to flesh it out, get it up to that good. Even the 350, 360 points just feel so much better value than being barely over 300 to me. But that's going to be it for today. I don't want to complain too long. The rules do seem reasonably cool and fun. I'm not entirely sold on the artillery pieces yet. I think we're going to have to see just how effective they are with the rest of the codex in sort of consideration. But Dria and the Riders could be good fun, and I think they will hopefully be suitably scary on the charge at least. But as always, I'd love to know what you make of these rules, and also of the points value in the box. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and as always, thank you very much for watching. Please do like and subscribe for more Warhammer content from me, but until next time, I'll catch you later, guys.